Hello, I'm B Rose and Converses. Today I'm going to talk to you about whether you are in the top 1% of global earners. In fact, you're only going to need $35,000 in order to be in the top 1% of global earners, and that's equal to £27,000. What's very interesting is that people often talk about the richest 1% and the great 1% and the evilness that must sit within the top 1%. But when we look globally, the 1% is not actually very powerful. The 1% of the US or the 1% of Canada or the 1% of the UK is likely to be very powerful. The 1% of the world is significantly less powerful than you think they are. There are a few reasons for this. There are a few reasons why those earners may not be living the lavish lifestyles that you might expect them to. And so I'm going to cover that with you today. To be in the top 1% of the USA, on the other hand, you would need about $800,000. And you'd need more than that. And for the top 1% of the UK, you'd need about 100,000. But you see, if you're in the top 1% globally, you could still be in poverty. Not the 1% of the UK, for example, or the 1% of the USA. They are very rich. But globally, you could be in relative poverty, having a substandard standard of living compared with the region or nation you live in. Whereas absolute poverty, which is the poverty everybody hears about, which is a standard of living that is actually completely and totally unsuitable for sustaining any life that we would consider to have any real quality of life. There's a lack of capacity to obtain commodities, which either are there for sustaining life or for developing it. In fact, absolute poverty can often mean that people are earning under $2 a day. Here is a slum in Kenya. Now, in Kenya, there are some very large slums, as there are in lots of LEDCs, less economically developed countries. And you can see here the presence of absolute poverty. Most people here, almost 1 million of them, are living actually under $1 a day, so even less than the absolute poverty limit that the UN often tends to use. It's not an easy life for young children who are leaving home as early as 6 years old in order to fend for themselves. We could then contrast that with other areas, and I'm going to do that in a moment. Could you be in the top 1% of earners in the world globally and be in relative poverty in your country? Yes, you could be on £27,000 a year in this country and still experience relative poverty. Absolute poverty, on the other hand, you couldn't. Now see here, this is actually Spain. This is an aerial view of one of the slums in Spain. Now it doesn't quite look like the Kenyan slum, but it's still a slum nonetheless, and people aren't able to afford all of the luxuries one might usually expect to afford in Spain. It is in fact possible to be in the top 1% of global earners while living in this terrible situation of relative poverty, a region that lands you in it. Now here in the UK, this area is considered to be a slum. You wouldn't think so, would you? But in relative terms, it is a slum. The house looks beautiful on the outside, but can you see the people inside? The landlord is earning about, apparently, £3,000 a month to keep multiple men who have obviously emigrated in this property, and he's not looking after it in any way, shape or form. So, the biggest reason for this is that richer countries in general have people earning more, but also spending more to survive. Here, for example, is a 1 metre long pizza that you can get hold of in Uganda for 59,900 Ugandan shillings. I'm going to do a comparison in a second, but I'm just going to describe this here. So there's a long pizza here that's a metre long. It's got lots of different toppings on it. Beautiful. Now here in the UK, here is a peri peri pizza, a large one, but it's nowhere near a metre long. And it can be purchased for £20.99. Now, both pizzas look fantastic. They're also provided by the same company, Pizza Hut. So, let's order pizza in these two countries. And obviously, there's a little pizza doodle. Got to do it. Anyway, right, back to what we're doing. A 1 metre long pizza in Uganda is costing 59,900 Ugandan shillings. And that is the equivalent, are you ready for it? A metre long pizza for £12.81 or $16.76. If you were, on the other hand, to go to the UK and order that lovely large peri peri pizza, which is not anywhere near a metre long in the UK, you'd be paying the equivalent of 98,135 Ugandan shillings, which equals £20.99 or $27.46. Now, you'd think that would be something to fight about. Not saying you should. But what are people actually fighting about in different countries? For the British, it's been over petrol prices, as we say here, diesel prices, etc. And in Spain, there's a lot of talk of drug cartel problems and drug battles in the slums. And in Kenya, people are battling just for a roof over their head. No matter how much you earn, you'll always fare richer in a poor country, excluding bribes and taxes. If someone goes to a rich country for a better life, they'll be faced with higher costs and expenses unless they ensure a good job on arrival. So, as I was talking about before, let's get aside from fighting over pizza. Here's a landlord who is employing people in the ghetto, in the slums, to actually use violence in order to collect his rent for him. As you can see, these buildings are not even hardly standing. And here you can see the drugs problems within the Spain slums. Now, are you in the 1% of global earners? Do those around you view you as rich? Oh dear, I've missed out a word there. How do you feel about billionaires now that you know how few there really are? Thank you for listening.